Hi guys, and welcome to Novel With Me, the series which takes you on a writing journey from start to finish. Today is the very last episode, video, whatever the hell I call it, of Novel With Me. I have been doing this series partly for me, partly for you guys since the beginning of April. And it has been absolutely super fun to do. Since we began, we have planned your world and your characters, we have plotted your story, and now we're going to take that last, final but optional step before writing, which is outlining. I personally see plotting and outlining as two different things, although I know some writers probably see them as sort of the same thing. I see it as plotting is where you plot the major plot points of your novel, done, and outlining as going a little bit more in depth and filling in all of those blanks. What happens during the first half of Act 2? What happens after the midpoint? What are all of the different adventures that your characters and their friends go on? It's making a connection between every step that your characters take in as much depth as you want or as you need. Think of it as a guideline to follow as you write. Now, I know outlining isn't a step that every writer wants to do. Some of you are pantsers out there who don't even want to think about outlining. It's definitely an extra step to take before you start writing, which some people don't like. For some people, they find it a bore and a drag. I do. I find outlining boring. I tried to outline once, like do a proper in-depth outline, but I got bored about a quarter of the way through, probably because I was just too excited to actually start writing the novel. But that says more about me and, you know, my focus and productivity and motivation than it does anything else. But outlining does actually have a lot of pros when it comes to writing. Outlining the story beforehand means you will always know where to go next in your novel. There's no trying to slug through the middle, trying to figure out what happens next. You know all of the foreshadowing, you know all of the plot points that are coming up, you know how to stick in all of the seeds of distrust and conflict and that plot twist you've been working on, and everything fits together properly because you've already planned it and outlined it properly. You might also walk away with a better quality first draft using an outline than if you don't use an outline. If not in style, then at least in overall story narrative. But following an outline can take away your creativity. You've done the outline, you've done the fun part. Now you've just got to check off a list of boxes to get done every single scene, you know? You might get bored because everything's already been decided for you in the outline. You can't turn off the beaten track if you get a fab idea in the middle of writing a scene because it won't fit. But I'm going to show you 4 different ways that you can outline for your novel, the very basic to the extreme. So hopefully you guys can find a happy medium no matter where you fall in between pantser and planner. Number 1, keep it simple. Short sentences. I use this all the time when I write, usually to unstick myself if I get stuck writing a scene and I have no idea what I'm doing next, which is quite often, to be fair. I sometimes call it the 5-minute outline because I only really take 5 minutes to do it, usually on a post-it note stuck onto my laptop so I can look at it while I write. If you do get stuck in a scene, all you need to do is take a step back and then take 5 minutes to outline the rest of the scene using short basic sentences. Character A and character B talk. Character B gets upset. Character A's secret is revealed. So you know all the beats that you want to hit in that scene. They're already outlined for you. You can also do this to outline your full novel just using these short, easy sentences as a sort of stepping off point for your inspiration and creativity to kick in as you write, especially for those bits where you need to write things between major plot point A and major plot point B. Number 2, chapter outlining. This is the first outlining I ever did, back when I thought outlining and plotting were the same thing. This is how I plotted my novel. This is how I plotted Nephilim, which is why I'm rewriting it 5 years later. All you need to do is outline the basics of each chapter, which means you get to hurriedly make up your chapters as you go. Please use your plot structure for this, because I did not, and I went from 15 chapters in draft 1 to 27 chapters in draft 2. So yeah, follow some sort of structure when you do this, please. A and B meet in this way. They talk about that. A thinks about this. The great thing about this outline is that you can veer off as much as you want, as long as you come back and include those points that you have already outlined. They're the important bits, and you can do whatever the hell you want for the rest of the chapter as long as you come back to those. Number 3, the dialogue outline. You just fill the whole page with dialogue that happens, really. It's very helpful, especially if you've got those scenes or chapters that are heavy on dialogue. It doesn't matter if you include dialogue tags at all, as long as you know roughly who is speaking when. You can write a sentence and then just put their name at the end of that sentence to show that that's the person who said it. Add in a little bit of, then this happens, then that happens, and then when you come to actually writing your novel, all you need to do is fill in the dialogue tags, the action tags, the setting, the description, the inner thought all around it, and you've already got a huge chunk of the basics down for you. Number 4, the zero draft outline. This is for the more serious outliner. This is the zero draft. Now, a zero draft is usually a sort of unstructured piece of writing, which is basically just your thoughts on the subject. I, and probably most people in the novelling world, don't sort of use that description, because obviously an outline is structured. I know some people think of their very first draft as a zero draft, and then they will work going from plot point A to point B to point C and so on. You write down everything that happens, every little detail. You can bullet point it, you can paragraph it, you can sentence it. Every important thing that needs to happen in that scene, in that chapter, gets written down for your zero draft in as much or as little detail as you want. This is where you really need to go deep, and you need to think about where you want certain subplot points to start, where you want certain beats of foreshadowing or conflict to hit. This is where you start setting up for that big reveal at the end of the book, making sure you plant the seeds, those little tidbits that your readers will pick up on and go, oh my god, that's what that meant. Then as you write your official first draft, you have a very clear path to take. Now, just because you've done a major outline, don't be afraid to veer off that path, especially if some inspiration hits you in the middle of writing a scene. It's absolutely fine. Write down the scene, that moment, whatever you want to. If you don't know if it will help your novel and make it better until the novel is written, and if it turns out you didn't need it or it doesn't work, you can rework it to make it work, or you can get rid of it in revisions. So don't feel bad if you add something that's not in your outline, and don't feel restricted by your outline, because you make the rules in writing. If you want to go off somewhere and have your characters do something completely different than the outline says, no one's going to stop you. No one's going to stop you. This isn't really number 5, because I said there was 4, but use your first draft as an outline. You know, I suppose most writers, or some writers, do actually call their first draft a zero draft, which is the very basic foundations of the novel written down, and then they will use that zero draft as the outline and then rewrite for draft 2, which will be the official draft 1. So even if outlining is not your thing, if you have written a first draft, use that as an outline, use that as the zero draft. All the work's already been done for you. This is why writing is rewriting, not writing, or so they say. Whether you guys decide to outline or whether you don't, like I said, the step some people want to take is a step others don't. Do I advise that you outline? It depends on the writer you are, the type of writer you are, and if you do have problems or issues that you can't quite solve. It's a new way of doing things. So if you don't outline and you feel that the way you write isn't working for you, then try outlining. If you like outlining but you feel restricted, either change up how you outline or try to not outline. It completely depends on you. No two writers are the same. It's your journey, not anyone else's, and you can do whatever the hell you want on it. So yeah, outlining is optional, but if you do get stuck while writing, even if you're a pantser, doing a mini outline for the next couple of scenes can help get you unstuck, even if it's not an official outline. So there you go. Just remember, it's very important that an outline is not a strict set of rules to follow. They can be a very helpful guideline if you have the time and the willingness to write one. This is it for Novel With Me. Thank you to everybody who has watched it, is watching. I hope that you managed to get something from it. I hope you managed to get as much out of it for you as I did. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Good thoughts and happy writing.